Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, there's a lot going on in the world today, and it's time for another vlog. So everybody, welcome back. My name is Teo, also known as the Blind Bassist. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and following. As some of you who follow the channel, I've been on the fence on how to continue the channel, deciding whether what kind of content I should make. I've been making music content. I've been making content in regards to being blind and pursuing my dreams. Been a little hard lately because, well, when I started this channel, I was gainfully employed as a freelance musician and carving out a nice little life for me and my wife and my 3 kids. And now, since the pandemic, well, I'm unemployed like so many of us, and prospects in the future are looking uncertain, I guess is the best word to say. I don't want to be too negative on this podcast. So anyway, it's June 1st, 2020, and we just had a lot of rioting over police brutality, ongoing police brutality that has been brought to fore, other peaceful ways that people have tried to bring up police brutality have been met with no results. And a little bit about my past. I used to be an activist. Well, I guess in my heart I'm still an activist, but I used to actually go out there and march and protest things that I was against. And one of the main things I was against, or that I protested back in my younger days, my pre-blind days, and even into my blindness, I would still do some protesting. But mainly it was against the invasion of Iraq back in 2003. For those of you who don't remember, there were UN inspectors that were deployed to Iraq to try to check to see if there were weapons of mass destruction. And those of us on the peacenik side, the doves, they like to call us, we wanted them to continue the inspections to make sure there were no weapons of mass destruction, to make sure that war was unnecessary. If war was unnecessary, that it would not occur. But of course, the coalition decided to go ahead anyway with their shock and awe. And before that war started, I particularly remember an experience of leading a group of anti-war protesters marching, where I was playing with Free Radicals at the time. We would bring marching percussion, and I was playing the cowbell. And I remember leading that march of thousands of people in downtown Houston in Eleanor Tinsley Park, where they have the July 4th celebrations, completely full. And millions around the world were protesting, and our voices weren't heard then, and that was kind of what broke my heart and made me a little more jaded with politics. And over the years, even though I was still active after that, I became less and less active, less and less vocal, more tried to concentrate on music and trying to create beautiful things rather than concentrate on destruction. And really, that's what I'm going to do with this vlog now. So many people with the pandemic, with the economic collapse that the pandemic has caused, with the continued brutality of those power structures around us, how Wall Street can get giant bailouts, but when Congress talks about giving the people a second bailout for those who need it the worst, there's debate, because they gave, to their minds, they gave the people too much, some people too much already, because, people like me, artists, are on unemployment. So I think some of them are regretting that. And honestly, I'd rather be playing right now. I'd rather be playing. But, I also believe that we are too much being held back in 20th century ways of thinking. And so we've had these end of world thoughts before. They've come many times in my life. In fact, I was born in 1975, Vietnam War era. 1984 was a big date because of George Orwell's novel, so a lot of people were speculating some kind of Armageddon back in 84. That's my first real memory of mass talk of Armageddon, really. And also, my religious upbringing always had discussions of Armageddon, and then Y2K. I was 25 years old during that. Also, the Mayan calendar in 2012, not that long ago, 8 years ago, what was it? And now here we are in 2020, and it looks like the stars have aligned to give us some challenges. I look at them as challenges, though. I don't look at this as some people are looking at this as the end of days. I look at it as the wheels spinning, right? And sometimes what some people call death, the pain of death, could also be the pain of birthing pains. And it's a wheel, so it keeps going. So that same pain will birth something new. So to me, I think of these as birthing pains, these riots, these feelings of resentment, these I know a lot of people are stuck at home and they're watching the news, or people are compelled to be out in the streets because they feel their voices aren't being heard. And I understand, trust me, I understand. Were it not for having these children to watch after, I'd probably be in the streets myself right now. Not causing destruction. I don't believe in causing destruction unless absolutely necessary. And I understand how some feel it's necessary, and I'm not judging those who do. I personally do not believe in destruction. I do believe in raising your voice. I do believe in peaceful protests. I do believe in sit-ins and hunger strikes and things of that nature. But I'm a peacekeeper by nature. I've always been one to want to try to keep the peace. So sometimes you have to use blunt force like a shield, but I do believe in keeping the peace. So that's just it. I'm noticing on YouTube so many people are talking about their perspectives during this time, and what I'm hoping for is, like I said, it's birthing pains. It's an awakening. We're starting to see the inequality that exists. The scales have been tipped too long, too far, in the direction of too few. It's time for a little more balance. Now, some people think there's a dichotomy between socialism and capitalism, or authoritarianism and democracy, or whatever you want to put on either scale. And there's a third way. The presidential candidate, Andrew Yang, very intelligent man, approximately my age, and I love a lot of the things he said. One of the things he said is it's not left and right, it's forward. And like I mentioned earlier in this vlog, we need to start thinking of 21st century ways to solve our problems now. This 20th century capitalism thinking, capitalism first, capitalism is a tool. Money is a tool. We need it, we use it, right? But one of the old sayings, right? The love of money, root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. So when you put capital above people's lives, when you feel more for property than you do for people, in my opinion, you're misguided. Sorry, minor interruption there. just going to start a new train of thought. So, as an artist in these times, I do feel it's important for me to share some of what I feel and what I hope is introspection. Being an artist, you have to go within yourself. You have to learn how to portray different emotions and how to perform, even when your emotional state is in a different state than say the song you want to perform. So it allows introspection, and also the ancient Greeks considered music to be one of the higher forms of study of thought. They had their tritium and their quadridium, and music was high up in their quadridium. So I plan to make more content. I'm still not sure what, but in the search, if you come with me on the journey, we'll make and create things together. So with your input, it'll help me decide which direction I want to go, going from this old bebop bass player to a beat maker, or whatever my journey decides for me. So remember, guys, that this is our time to rise up, awaken, and ask for more equality. They like to use freedom, or in an Orwellian way, like free trade, when in their hearts I think they mean they're free to rob as many people as possible. These giant corporations, this efficient supply lines are what led to meat shortages of necessary medical supplies. It's the 21st century. Like that's where I was going with this. It's the 21st century. We need to have 21st century answers to our problems. That includes cleaning the earth. We need to see what this pandemic. We need to find all the positives that we can from what has gone on. From all these lives cannot be for vain. We need to. This economic collapse. We need to learn our lessons. We can't think to go back to the old ways when we see that there's so many holes in how our system works. No, who cares what an old bass player says? And it's not important. It really isn't what I care or my ideas. What's important is that I get you, as many of you as will listen, as will hear, as will have the desire. But even if I just touch one person, then that's something, right? So what I think, there's a lot of different ways we can look at the system, this crony capitalistic system we have. I think number one, we need to repeal Citizens United. Look it up. Supreme Court decision that said that corporations are allowed to contribute as much money to political campaigns as they will, because they consider their money free speech. I don't consider corporations people. I think that's also a mistake in our current governance. I don't believe in. I do love what the American Constitution stands for. I do think that the founders made a document that is mutable, that can be changed with the times, that can be amended. And with our system, with legislation, executive and judicial branches, I believe that system is a great system. I believe some parts of it still lean too much of power in the hands of the few. Some things I would look at is the Electoral College. Some things I would consider is gerrymandering, and the ability of that to occur with the new internet age. Voting needs to be reconsidered. I mean, if the IRS can figure out how to do things online, why can't we vote online? mean, sure, there's fraud, but that's something we need to. There's fraud in all. This capitalist system breeds fraud. When the bottom line is to make money, then your goals, the ends justify the means. And if your number one goal is money, capitalism, then of course you're going to seek any path to get to your means. And we need to have a society with better virtues. I'm really liking a lot of what Andrew Yang is saying, that we need to reevaluate what we consider wealth in this country. It's not just the stock market. I think I heard a quote the other day where somebody said stock market is just a graph of how rich people are feeling. That needs to not be one of the markers that we use for how well our economy and our society is doing. It should be lower suicide rates. It should be lowest mortality of childbirth. That should be those should be the things we measure ourselves by, not gross national product, not the stock market. It should be how many healthy people we have in our population. It shouldn't be how many millionaires we have in our population. So I need your ideas. Like I said, I'm just a simple musician trying to eke out a living. And there's a lot more people out there more brilliant than me that can come up with way more ideas on how we can better run our systems. Because these old antiquated systems, these 19th, 18th century systems, they worked and served us well for a time, but it's time to move forward. It's time to think about ways of moving forward. And there's capitalist, free market ways of moving forward. Everything doesn't have to be the big scary socialism word. Although I see no problem with Medicare and Social Security and fire departments and military and police, which I consider all socialism. In the grand scheme of it, public programs, whenever we pool our money together, you call that socialism, right? So that's the post office. Are you scared of your mailman? Are you scared of the trash man? I think we need to get back to more local produced goods. I think we need to use our free market to have more values in that regard. Like each city in an ideal world would be able to sustain itself with food. That way we don't have to worry about international supply chains in case another pandemic occurs. Each city should be able to manufacture its own necessary as feasible as possible. Like I said, there's engineers out there more brilliant than I am. And anyway, like I said, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos and everybody was giving their 2 cents on the rioting and the police brutality and pandemic and all these times. So I thought I'd give my 2 cents. Thank you guys. Follow, like, subscribe. You'll see more music content coming soon. I got some equipment in repair, so it'll be on the way soon. And I'll start making more live looping, beat making, covers, whatever you like. I'm just making content. Since I'm not performing, I feel like I need to work. I don't believe those people that think that if we had a universal basic income that people would just sit around and do nothing. I don't believe that. I believe people do have a good work ethic and want to feel. That's I was trying to wrap up, but that's another important thing we need to have important, brilliant minds think about is how to maximize everyone's mood so we're not all on these medications and we can all prosper and be happy. The pursuit of happiness. I think we should take those things to heart. Welfare of the general public, pursuit of happiness, not the pursuit of sustenance and the happiness of the few. And even those few super rich, they say more money, more problems. We need to put our great minds together and find ways of championing ways of making life the happiest for the most. So, alright, signing off. Thanks a lot. This is Teo, the blind bassist. Talk to you soon.